How is she? They won't tell me a thing.
Why do you care? Ma'am?
What's that supposed to mean?
That magazine. You don't care whether she lives or dies. As a matter of fact, she's drinking because of you, because she thinks you're responsible for the death of her husband. And you want to know something? So do I.
I warned you in my office. Don't you?
I checked your alibi for the time before you got to the house. It doesn't wash.
First of all, I don't need an alibi. And secondly, I was at Parker Motors.
You said they were closed when you got there. The fact is they've been open every night until 9 o'clock for the past month. Have that magazine?
Have they?
That's right. Got a match?
Your health program didn't last very long, did it?
Long enough.
Feeling flat, tired and fat. Milo Janis is where it's at. Keeping trim, healthy and slim. With Milo Janis, you're in the swim. Your new life is waiting to begin at Milo Janis.
Good evening, Columbo fans. This is Sean.
And this is Steve.
And I hope you've put on your workout clothes, tied your shoes, and gotten ready, because tonight
we're going to the 24-hour fitness, or
well, almost. Oh. We're going to talk about an exercise in Fatality, starring Robert Conrad as a physically fit, murderous gym owner. All right, before we begin, though, let me ask you, Steve, what do you know about Robert Conrad?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I know he was from the he was a TV star in the 70s, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, he was on a few different shows, mostly like westerns, that type of thing. He was in one particular show of interest, though, something we talked about before. He was in a show called Wild Wild West. He actually played Mr. West in that.
Yes,
and he
you're
was,
right.
He and Ross Martin were the stars of that show, the two leads. So we don't do this on purpose, folks. It's totally random which episodes we pick, and it just happened to be the Wild Wild West. Okay, let's talk about Milo Janis, who owns a chain of what I think may be the skeeviest, grossest gyms in the world, occupied almost exclusively by shirtless old men, apparently.
Yes, walls covered in dark paneled wood. No, that doesn't look anything like a club looks like today.
No, it's they have a lot of, at least in the beginning, a lot of background like extras working out, and they're just like not even like doing real workouts. It's just sort of like, did this place cater exclusively to men? I wonder. Probably.
I wonder. Yeah, maybe back in the 70s you had your specialized maybe for men clubs. I don't know. Again, it's just so different than it is today. Today you go in, you won't see a fat old man in there at all. You see you see all young, fit, attractive people.
And you go into a gym today, you will not see a ping pong table.
No ping pong.
And you will not see a pool table, which apparently Milo Janis fitness centers come with ping pong tables and pool tables, because that's how you get real exercise right there. All right, so
with a full staff bar and cigar room, and I'm kidding.
So when you'd be like, "I'm going to the club," they were really, really going to the club. All right, so
no, it's a health spa.
Oh, I'm sorry, a health spa.
And the reason I know that is because I actually listened to the jingle of the club, which plays at the very beginning. You get to hear the jingle.
Do you think they play that constantly in the background in the gym? Because
I don't know, but during the scene where people were working out, it was on the loudspeakers without the vocals.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so fun thing here. If Milo walks into his spa, whatever you want to call it, and he says hello to an old guy on a stationary bicycle.
Yep.
And that old man, he's not really an old, well, he is an old man. That is none other than Mike Lally, the man who has appeared in more Columbo episodes other than Peter Falk himself. You'll see him pop up here and there, much like Alfred Hitchcock. Anyway, so one of his spas, or his franchises, is owned by a gentleman named Gene Stafford, who is not a gentleman I would take for owning a health club.
No,
he's oily.
He's oily? Yeah, poor Gene.
Drinks a lot of coffee.
So he's got a problem with Milo Janis. So apparently he thinks he's being nickel and dimed out of this franchise, which he is. But I got a question for you. I don't know if you know anything about franchise opportunities, but don't you have to buy what they offer? Like if you buy a franchise to McDonald's, you can't go out and buy your own hamburger meat, for example.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And you have to buy, like, you have certain vendors that you're required to use, like maybe U.S. Foods or something like that. You can only buy Ben E. Keith condiments because Steve, you have to maintain quality.
Quality, yes, you do, and I agree. So I guess I kind of side with Janis here. I don't know. Now, because there's a point where even Gene is complaining about he says something like I can smell fraud or whatever. I can smell the flim flam. I can smell it right down to these paper clips you make me buy.
Yeah.
What's keeping him from going to the 1970s version of Staples and buying a random box of 29-cent paper clips? Like,
I don't know. I'm not an accountant. I don't know anything about accounting, and that practice in and of itself is not illegal. But I think that there was obviously there was a question of he was bottom line, he was hiding stuff from the IRS so he didn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And really that's all we need to know about it, I guess.
Because the first scene really, I think where the episode begins is we get our first clue with his secretary Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica.
And so we see that whenever a phone call comes in, she hits the record button.
What a complete fucking pain in the ass that
must
be.
I know. Every time she picks up the phone, and it's not like you hit a button. I mean, she's got to pull out the drawer. She's got to hit play and record at the same time. Then she has to pick up the phone. By that point, the call's probably done.
Yeah,
it probably hung up.
Why didn't they have to? They probably should have had that machine on a separate table next to the phone, so it would have been easier. And I don't. Yeah. So Gene thinks that Milo is up to no good. Mm-hmm. So Milo decides. I guess I have a theory that maybe Milo had planned to kill Gene the whole time.
You think
it was just this? This is just the tip of the iceberg, and he was like, "That's got to be tonight now." So he's going to throw a party.
I didn't get that. Now, obviously, some of the other franchisees were upset with Milo and his, forcing them to buy, and then he would put 233% increase on or over retail or whatever Gene said. So there were other owners upset, but yeah, he targeted in on poor Gene.
Yeah,
and I kind of got his friend. Buddy was kind of the enforcer.
Yeah. I think that Buddy was obviously in on all this. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy knew that Milo killed Gene. Milo, I wouldn't be surprised. Buddy, by the way, was played by an actor named Al Harrington. Oh no, is it Al? His last name was Harrington, anyway. Mm-hmm. He played the janitor on the day One Day at a Time, a show that I know nothing about.
Schneider?
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
No.
That was him.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can email us and let us know
about how we're so wrong because we don't live in L.A. and.
You're right.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, he's Schneider from One Day at a Time.
Wow, I totally didn't get that. That is so cool because that was my favorite character on that show, and I don't know why I watched that show, but I did.
I don't even know what that show is about, but I recognize that character Schneider from it being on. Like my mom would watch it.
Well, very good because I didn't pick up on it at all.
Yeah. So yeah. So I can't remember where we were, but I think Buddy's knows, he's sort of an don't ask, don't tell system between Milo and Buddy. Mm-hmm. So Milo decides that he's going to have a party at his house.
Whoa. Let's rewind. So I think it's important that we bring up that Gene. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Janis visits Gene at his spa, and Gene then confronts him in the office. Now, if you're going to threaten somebody, which he does by saying, I'm going to tell the Security Exchange Commission and start a class action lawsuit. I'm going to tell the IRS. You're ruined. By this time tomorrow, your life will be over as you know it. Or not, not physically threatening, but just like financially threatening them. When you're alone with somebody, nobody's in the building, and you have a guy like Janis. Do you do that? I mean, that's the stupidest thing. Well, that happens so much in Columbo, where these people will threaten somebody, put them in a corner, and they end up getting killed because of it.
Well, that's, you got to start somewhere, and, it's always got to start with a scene like that. And they were not in the building alone. There were lots of shirtless old men around.
No, he came back.
Yes, he does come back.
But he comes back at like 7:30 when the building's closed down.
So, so when he comes back... Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. He's going to throw a party and invite a handful of people, including Gene and his secretary, and he's going to show a horror movie, X-rated and uncut.
Yes. I was going to ask you, what film from 1974 do you think they're talking about?
I have no fucking idea.
I think they're just making something up. But if you were to guess, for fun's sake, what do you think?
Was that when Deep Throat came out?
Is Deep Throat a horror film?
I'm sorry. Okay, so a horror movie X-rated and uncut in 1974. I have no idea. Well, we see a second of it. It's not even a real movie, I think.
You think it's a snuff film?
I don't know, Steve.
I mean, that would explain. That could be a horror uncut, or X-rated and uncut.
Yeah, that was a term for because you say X-rated and uncut now. I think it means something entirely different. Back then, X-rated meant it was not rated at all.
That wasn't like adult.
Yeah.
Only entertainment. Okay.
Like everybody's like, oh, Midnight Cowboy is the first X-rated movie to, Midnight Cowboy isn't a porno. It just wasn't. It was an independent feature that probably wasn't rated at first. So.
Yeah. Well, So Milo invites his secretary, which you find out she's more than just his secretary.
Right.
But I like the scene where I don't know if they had anything going prior to the scene where he invites her to go to his house to set up the movie and all that, because he kisses her, right? And she says, "There's something about you I don't like. It's you're not sure of yourself." And Janis responds, "Well, I'm pretty sure of myself after kissing you," or something like that. So I wonder if they had been flirting the whole time and he finally made a move.
I'm sure. Of course, he thinks that he's God's gift to women, which we see a little bit later too. As well.
Yeah, he's good shape for a 53-year-old.
Which, by the way, he's actually 38 or 39 in real life. He's younger than we are. He's not
he's
anymore.
a lot better shape than I am at that age. I think. Do you think you're more closer to Janis's health, or more like the old slabbering, sweaty old men at the beginning? Which one are you?
If my physical person was going to be a murderer on Columbo, I'm definitely more of a George Wendt than a Robert Conrad. But I would say probably at the end of the day, probably I'm a I don't know. What a stupid question. I have to answer it though. I'm more of a Dale Kingston. I don't know. Anyway,
let's talk about the murder.
Okay, yeah.
So, pretty clever idea, actually. But I like the little struggle at the beginning where he spills the coffee. That's going to be a clue, ladies and gentlemen. And we know how Sean feels about clues.
I love clues.
Yes. And he basically chases him through the closed health spa, marking up the floor in the ping pong room. I can't believe there's a ping pong table at a health club.
Yeah.
It's just so different times, right? Must be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he finally catches him. He throttles him with it looks like a bar, a metal rod of
Yeah. Milo Janis with the lead pipe in the ping pong room.
In the ping pong room. But yeah, so he sets it up so it looks like he was lifting a lot of heavy weights, and stumbled or dropped the dumbbell or whatever, and broke his windpipe. Which that's a pretty gruesome way to go. I mean,
yep,
both ways. The way he set it up, but how, I don't know. Yeah,
it's not a way I would want to die alone in a health club. But
yeah,
and there was something that bothered me though, and I thought for sure it was going to come up later, but Gene Stafford's fingerprints were nowhere on that barbell.
Milo put his hand around the bar at one point when he was getting ready to leave.
But only that one little area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Oh, we forgot to mention that from the taped phone calls, he takes out a little bit of, hello, Jessica? It's Gene. Is Milo there? And then he brings it home with him and sets it up in his study. So then Milo shows up at the party. He's late to his own party. He tells his secretary, who we later find out that's her first time at the house.
Mm-hmm.
He tells her to play hostess while he goes off and does an errand. He's going to go have a meeting with a guy who's a potential franchise owner.
Yeah.
And she apparently has no problem with this, even though she's never been to his house before. And goes in the other room, plays the tape, so goes the other room.
This guy's got a lot of free time, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so she gets right, and so I love the now I can't think of the other episode we see a home theater system like this. It was the one where the old movie star, she had a butler.
Forgotten Lady. We haven't done that one yet, though.
So this is a thing. I love the movie theater rooms from the 70s because they apparently would literally cut out a square in the wall for the projection to shine through. I don't know. I'm just thinking later when someone wants to modernize a home and they see a square in the wall. I wonder if people today would like, what the hell?
Yeah. No, they just make it bigger and put a fish tank in there, probably. Yeah.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
So then the next day, next week, cut to a crime scene. Cops are there. Columbo's there, along with random old shirtless dude wandering around in the background, gaping at the crime scene. Did you notice that?
You know what? Actually, the scene where Milo Janis gets the phone call, and he tells him, "No, you shouldn't exercise by yourself," and hangs up. And he makes some kind of wisecrack remark, and I think it was it Bobby? I'm sorry, Buddy say, "Oh, he's not going to do it with that gut." And they all start laughing, fat shaming a poor Gene. That's just sad, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Go on. I wrote that in my notes that they said that.
So we early morning murder, 6:30 in the morning, and you know what? I'm gonna in a few minutes, in just a couple minutes, I'm gonna grab on something tight to it and let it fly because this is one of them. This is one of the episodes I spoke of earlier. Columbo can't do anything until he's had his coffee. Oh, he shows up with a rumpled paper bag. And
I know. I thought the episode was over already.
And there's a random old guy wearing nothing but underwear, hanging around in the background, looking at the crime scene. And this is the part where I get to grab your little puppy nose and rub it in the poop, Steve, because somebody says, "Lieutenant,
I know where
you've
you're
got
going.
a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I take it?" "Oh, you can take it to Mr. Stafford's office." And then he picks it up, and it's Mrs. Columbo. Now, Steve, I put to you, if Mrs. Columbo does not exist, who was calling the lieutenant at the Chatsworth Health Spa?
I'm glad you asked.
Oh, you've got it all planned out. I
took note of this as well, and I knew you were going to rub my nosing it like you do a puppy who just did a little mess in the middle of the floor. So
people are listening to this just so they can hear what you have to say about this, I think.
So how it was set up was exactly identical to how Janis received a phone call from Gene. Automated pickup answering machine. We learned that technology exists in this episode, or something to that effect. A tape recording that makes it sound like it's his wife.
All right.
It's actually his psychiatrist who's trying to help him get through the loss of his wife. Because now that's my new theory, is that he wasn't never married. I just think he lost his wife. Okay. And so he's struggling with not having her around.
Okay, of course, if you like to believe that. See, now, you should have... He was using the machine that he got during the Ransom for a Dead Man case.
Yes, exactly.
See, I'm an enabler there.
He got that at auction, because, they auction off
after she was arrested, yeah. Of course, and it's been hanging around for 3 years. And he finally, I can finally use this. I'm going to use it.
But that's my theory, because I knew you were going to ask me that.
All right. Okay, well, that's fine.
Does that make sense? Would you say that?
I suppose so.
Was that believable to you?
He has an imaginary conversation with his wife. That's just a very cute conversation, by the way, is it not? No, you don't think it's cute?
Well, who's talking about dinner at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Well, she needs to go shopping. And,
at 6 in the morning. This is 1974. We have blue laws. Nobody can shop on Sunday. I mean, there's nobody open at 6 in the morning.
This is a Saturday.
There's no Walgreens open 24 hours.
I think it's a Saturday.
Well, I know it, but I'm just saying, no, there's nothing open at 6 o'clock.
It's California. Well, no, she's working on her list.
Admittedly, I don't live in L.A., and I don't know the culture.
She's got her hair up in curlers. She's got her shopping list out. The family's coming, Fred and Lisa and the twins, and, she's making a list. What should she do? She's fretting about it. She's got anxiety. You know what? I'm going to call up Mr. Columbo and ask him what I should do. And then he gives her the great idea, order Chinese.
Well, and I think it's a great scene, because I just love Peter Falk. I think he's improvising. I don't think this is scripted, but I think it's beautiful. Yeah. I love it.
I mean, there's obviously a scripted scene. Columbo answers the phone, talks to his wife, but yeah, everything that he says, like,
yeah, pick up phone, talk to wife, and the script says, make up whatever you want.
And he notices there's spilled coffee, and and the marks on the floor. There's shoe marks on the floor again with the fucking shoes. Columbo.
I'm telling you, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is.
This is the ultimate shoe episode, because there's 2 clues about shoes in here.
There's a lot of shoes going on.
Yeah.
Well, and then I love the scene where he's looking at it, and then the janitor, his name's Murphy, comes in. Murphy's just mad. He doesn't like all these cops around. Obviously, he sounds like he may have a record himself. But he's upset. So he's gonna tell Columbo why he's upset.
Just like every other janitor, almost. The only thing,
I guess because they feel like they can talk.
The only thing that could possibly make it worse is if Columbo lit a cigar.
There is a scene.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But Murphy is complaining to Columbo about the skid marks, and Columbo says, "Can I see your glasses?" And so Murphy hands him his glasses are in a little leather case. Columbo pulls the glasses out and then throws the case. It looks like he throws it across the room, which later when he puts the glass back, it's actually next to him. But this kind of willingly throws that case. I would have been like, what the F?
And then he gets...
That's not yours.
He gets...
Don't do that.
He gets down almost nose touching to the floor to look at the skid marks. And by the way, the whole time it's important to note that he's carrying a gigantic ass thermos in his coat pocket that's sticking out like a sore thumb.
And he drank all of that because there was no more coffee in it. He drank how many? What do you think? Like 15 cups of coffee in the thermos.
That's why he was running his mouth so much in the next scene when he gets to Milo's house. So, Yeah. So nobody there has brown shoes. Where do the brown scuff marks come from? Oh, they must have come from, what's his name? Dead guys. What the fuck is his name? Gene Stafford shoes. Therefore.
Well, yeah. He's not real sure because he asks all the other officers because it has to be one of them because everybody who's in the gym wears sneakers, and so none of them wear brown-soled shoes. So that wouldn't have been him or anybody on the force. But he does discover that after going through Gene's locker, which is locked, which is very suspicious, that he's the only one with brown-soled shoes.
I've seen this a few times. It never occurred to me the part where he says he locked it. I never noticed that before. I also never noticed the scene at the end where he goes up and he tries to actually pick up the barbell, which I thought, based on the music, was being played for laughs. But you find out later on that that's a really heavy-ass dumbbell that a normal person would not be able to lift up. So we cut to Milo Janis's house, and this is the morning after the murder, which means that they've had their party, and the secretary is still there. She brought her bikini. Never occurred to me before, but apparently after all the guests went home, Milo and Jessica did a little bit of
yes, must have.
And so he shows up, and in one of my favorite moments in this, she answers the phone. Not the phone. She answers the front door in her bikini, which she fills out very nicely, by the way, I must say, with a drink in hand. And Columbo loses it. Not loses it in a bad way, but he kind of absent-minded.
Well, and let's clarify. I don't think it's a drink like a cocktail. It's pretty much Janis only in his liquor cabinet. It's like carrot juice and vitamins.
Oh no!
Some kind of purple jug drink.
I think she was drinking a screwdriver or a Bloody Mary because there was Worcestershire sauce out there on the table. I noticed. I don't know. Yeah.
Really? Oh, I didn't notice that.
But they had to go to a morgue after that. But then again, this is 1974, so who knows? But I love to see Columbo flabbergasted when she opens the door like that, and he doesn't know what to do or say. And I can't remember exactly what it says, but he's tongue-tied. And
yeah, and this is where we find out that, Janis has the physique of a 39-year-old. He's actually 53.
Yeah. Liars.
Which is incredible. I hope I am in that kind of shape when
I have a funny feeling we won't be in that kind of shape when we're 53.
We also learn in this scene Columbo's preference in women. He likes him a little thick.
Well, he drank so much coffee, he couldn't shut up. He was...
I noticed this maybe because I'm Italian, so I when I see certain tributes that Italians do, I know what they're up to. And Peter Falk, a.k.a. Columbo, does many things that are very, very Italian. And one of them is speaking with his hands, right? Everybody knows that. But when an Italian stretches out his arms, like he does, he's explaining, almost looks like he's describing how big of a fish he caught. That kind of movement. That's usually when Italians do that, they're really getting wound up into their conversation. Like the BS is just flowing. I'm not using this as an argument about does he have a wife or not. Just that Peter Falk is really just enjoying this conversation.
Well, he goes on, and when he's telling Milo, "Oh, she used to be into it," and although I like a woman who's, well, that's not important, but blah 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 blah. And at this point,
she got depressed, and she would eat, and then she would get depressed.
And at this point, he hasn't even gotten around to telling him that Gene Stafford is dead.
Right? Yeah. Milo has to say, well, what are you here for exactly?
Yeah. It's a great scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in this. I can't decide what my favorite scene from this is because there's maybe 2 or 3 of them. But then we learn that this is the moment. There's the moment, the clue, when Columbo knows it's got to be him, because he says, "Oh, what's that? That looks like a nasty burn." And Milo says something. Oh yeah, I scalded my wrist in hot water this morning. Oh yeah, I had a burn like that. I spilled coffee on myself. Bam! Now we know that Columbo knows who the murderer is.
I thought, now in my mind, when I think when he started to suspect Janis, was same scene, but not that moment. I would say just maybe a few seconds before that, where when Columbo tells them that Jean has died, Janis he kind of puts his hand over his face to look down, like he's mourning or sad. But he actually you could see he's peeking through his eyes, looking at Columbo to see what he's about to do next. Yeah, and I think it was a hint, at least to the audience, or at least to me, that he's not sure how to play it up for this lieutenant. Interesting.
That's a good theory. Yeah. I got to look at that.
So we find out a few things. That Gene is married. He's recently separated. And so he gives Columbo the location where she lives. So he goes and visits. I can't remember. Are they divorced? Or separated?
They are divorced. I think.
Okay, so he goes to visit Jean's wife,
Ruth. That's right. Her name is Ruth.
Right, and she is she's an alcoholic.
Like she could drink. What's her name? Uncle Rudy's wife from Suitable for Framing. Edna. She could drink Edna under the table any day. Oh, yeah. She's not the worst alcoholic I've seen in Columbo, but she's up there.
No. That goes to that distinct honor goes to
Tyne Daly.
Tyne Daly.
Oh, yes, yeah. You know what? You're right.
Tyne Daly she can out drink and out act anybody.
You know
drunk.
what? I think there's one other person, and they're all women, by the way, which is interesting. I think there's one other person that could be one in the running, and I'm not going to say who it is. We haven't seen the episode yet, but there's another one from the 90s too that I'm thinking of. But they're all women, which is interesting because
it's always the women.
I guess
Why is that? That's kind of sexist. Like they can't handle their booze? Is that what they're?
Well, I don't know.
Implying,
I guess I don't know. I have no idea. There's got to be some men. I just can't think of them.
Well, Tyne Daly can definitely handle her booze. I mean,
there's got to be some alcoholic men, and not counting Adrian Carsini, who I don't really count as an alcoholic. He just likes wine. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I know one. I know one.
No,
Billy Connolly in Murder with Too Many Notes. It was implied that he was an alcoholic.
So yeah, Ruth. Ruth, I think, is an alcoholic. She's actually a really attractive woman, and I can't think of who the actress is, but I recognize her, and I don't know from what. Colleen Wilcox Paxton. Did you recognize her? I know I've seen her in something.
I did recognize her, but I have.
It's like in like film, like she's done. Let me
see what she's been in, because I did recognize her, and I thought that I looked her up. Oh, she's dead. Okay, all right. She was in Jaws 2. That doesn't help.
Okay.
She was in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. She's been in a lot of stuff that I've seen, but I can't remember. It looks like she's been in a lot of like Lifetime type movies.
But she's got a very recognizable face, so yeah, definitely.
But you're right. Yeah, there's something about her that I've seen her before too. She hasn't even been in Twilight Zone. Like she's she has been in Twilight Zone. I'm sorry. She was Marilyn Kubero in Twilight Zone. Right as I said that, she's been in a lot of stuff here. To Kill a Mockingbird, probably when she was... No, she wouldn't have been a kid. She played somebody named Mayella. The last thing she was in was... she was in Mad Men, where she played a character, believe it or not, named Eleanor Stafford. Dead now. She died in 2009.
Oh, that's sad.
Always got to mention when they're dead.
So, so we find out that... they were recently divorced, her and Jean. Their son was sent off to school, and I guess so he won't have to deal with the emotions of divorce. And Columbo asks Ruth about, there's a name named Lacey in Jean's calendar. It's written down quite a bit. Do you know who this is? And so we find out Louis Lacey is an old business partner or business consultant or something like.
At a
So that
he worked for a company called Tricon Industries that Gene Stafford was working at.
Yes. But yeah, so yeah, that's the next person of interest that Columbo needs to find out about.
And man, oh man, yeah, we know she's an alcoholic because it's probably not even noon and she's already drinking, and she does this unabashedly. You got to admire people who just are like, you know what, I'm not on a cruise and it's not brunch. I'm just going to have a drink right here. So vodka something.
Yeah.
And then she even offers one to the lieutenant. Great. Would you like some? I'm just going to have some cookies here and some vodka. It's okay. In real life, her house. I'm assuming she has a maid because in real life, really bad alcoholics, so wouldn't have a house that nice.
Well, she obviously gets later. We find out. My theory is that she gets alcohol poisoning. She ends up in the hospital. We never really told why, but I think it has something to do with consumption. It's just something she's.
Yeah. Well, she spends a lot of time playing the piano, eating sandwiches, and drinking. We learn later on because when Louis Lacey comes to visit her, she's playing the piano, and there's a half-eaten sandwich on the table. I just noticed things like this. She sits on the table while she's talking to the Louis Lacey. Anyway, so she tells him about Tricon, and in another one of my favorite scenes, Columbo, which is extremely padded. Columbo goes to find out about Louis Lacey at Tricon Industries.
Whoa. Before we do that,
let's
one scene you're skipping is so Columbo goes visits Janis at
yes. Okay, yes.
This is a great scene, by the way. I love this. So Janis is swimming in the ocean. Columbo sees him and he's walking along the beach, calls him over, and Janis now he's I really didn't notice his physique earlier, but until this scene. Because he gets out of the ocean, he starts doing push-ups. He's got this regiment, right, that's going on. And Columbo wants to ask him some questions. He asks about Lacey, and Janis was like, "Well, why don't you come run with me? I still have to do my workout."
There was something else before the running, and Janis is doing push-ups, and Columbo's trying to get as close as possible to him without getting his shoes wet. And if you watch carefully, you'll see that a couple times there's a wave that comes in, and Columbo has to take a couple steps back in order to avoid ruining his lovely, expensive shoes that he wears.
Oh my God, those shoes!
They are he has the ugliest shoes I've ever seen. They put old man shoes to shame. So yeah, come run with me. So in a scene, and you know what could have made this? Go ahead, talk about it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So Columbo has to now follow him, and poor Columbo. I mean, I pretty much they see him running off, and Columbo's having a hard time keeping up.
And Janis is doing this on purpose, obviously.
Yeah, and Janis is a real asshole. Yeah. I just want to say this because he's the kind of guy. I'm sure we all have that one friend that's in good shape, and he's like, it will give you advice, even though you didn't ask for it. Oh, you really shouldn't do that. That's not good for you. He does that to Columbo, and he does that. He does it actually to everyone, not just Columbo. He did it to Gene. He's doing it to Columbo, where he's telling him, "Oh, you need to run. You need a regiment.
Ruth.
You shouldn't be smoking those dirty cigars. Those will be the death of you. Everything's gonna be the death of you." He's like Janis is like my nana, telling me that's gonna be the death of you. So I just
I hate when I would smoke and people would say, those cigarettes gonna kill you. Like, oh no shit, I haven't read anything or seen anything on TV about cigarettes before. I didn't know they were bad for you. Wow, I should just fucking quit right now. Thanks for the advice. You've saved my life. Yeah.
Thanks to you. But yeah, so Janis is that guy.
And Columbo, by the time they get to the end of the run, Columbo is just exhausted. I mean, he's breathing.
He's sweating.
He's breathing. He's laboring his breathing or labor in his breathing, and he's sweating. His hair's all messed up.
There's something that I don't like about this scene, and that's the fact that when Janis has Columbo run with him, they play this sort of quirky military marching music that I did not like. I thought it kind of pulled me out for a second. You know, like they didn't need that. Like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I see what you're saying. Columbo doesn't like to run, and he's not wearing anything that he should run in, and yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, Columbo's not set up to run on the beach.
Yeah, but we don't need the music to remind us of that. We know that already. So, I don't know.
But so and this is also an opportunity where Columbo asks Janis about Buddy and his relationship.
I was going to ask you a really quick question. I want to know what you think about this. So Milo Janis has this theater system in his house. You know what? I bet you he never uses it to watch real X-rated movies because all he needs is a mirror. He probably jerks off watching himself in a mirror. You know those types of people? No? Okay. Just me.
Wow. Thanks for derailing.
I had to do it somehow. There. Okay. There is one thing when they're walking down.
Okay, yes. I admit he's making love to a secretary, to Jennifer, right? Jen. I'm sure there's a mirror.
Oh,
on the
absolutely.
ceiling.
There's got to be a mirror on the ceiling in his bedroom.
He
probably even uses it when no one's there. He just looks at himself. Oh, I'm so sexy. Look at me. I can't remember what they talk about. I only remember what they do in this scene because Janis is outside with the punching bag, and we see Columbo dump the sand out of his shoes into the bushes.
He's trying to find a place to dump it, and I like this because if I'm sure people listening to this podcast know where this episode goes, but our first clue or hint of a clue is basically telling us you need to pay attention to this. It's going to come up again and again. Is the shoelace?
Oh yes, that's right.
So after he's done secretly dumping the sand into the flower beds of Janis's flower beds, he's trying to put his shoes back on. He's tying them, and a shoelace breaks. Now there's really no real reason to why his shoelace broke in this scene. I think it was just to call attention to his shoelace, which is a huge
I think it's just a reason to see him clumsily tie the broken shoelace onto the rest of the lace and then try to relace the shoe. And then he brings him inside and he gives him some vitamin. You want breakfast, Columbo? Here you go. There's breakfast.
Sure. Columbo's hungry. He didn't get breakfast that early.
I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. I'm pretty sure healthy people don't really eat just that for breakfast. Yeah,
you can't. You need protein. You need protein.
And I think there's two lines that Columbo says. This is all I got from this scene. There's two lines that Columbo says that are absolutely hilarious. Whoops. He says he goes to take the pills and he sips the drink and he goes, "Sir, there's something wrong with this orange juice." And you can tell Milo Janis is very bemused by this. He's kind of smirking. It's carrot juice, Lieutenant. Have you ever had carrot juice?
No, I've never had carrot juice.
I really want to see what it tastes like.
I'm only familiar of it through two TV programs. I know what they are. This episode and a Doctor Who episode, and both characters did not like it, so I have no interest.
My dad had this thing growing up. It was this giant sentinel of a machine called a Vitamix, and he would just put random fruits and vegetables in there and make concoctions, and it came out looking like fucking diarrhea. It was so gross. And I had a friend come over, okay, and we're like, in 8th grade or whatever, we're not teenagers, but we're young enough to sit down and eat with the parents, because that's what kids used to do, when everybody was here, they'd sit down and eat together. And my dad made with the Vitamix, he made soup with the Vitamix, okay? And what it looked like was somebody took a bowl of guacamole, put it in the microwave, and heated it for 3 minutes and let it melt and make guacamole soup. He pulls out this green soup that he made out of the vitamin. Here, try this. It's great. It's good. So we ate the soup, and it tasted like lawn clippings. Disgusting. Sorry.
It may have been lawn clippings. Did you ever ask him?
I don't know. Probably. What would you put in here? All things that are good for you. Carrots, broccoli, bananas, apples. You don't put those things together.
And see, in our generation, we have something similar. It's called a margarita maker.
Oh, yeah. I'd much rather have that. See, I want to see that.
Put some ice, put some lime in it.
I want to see that Columbo murderer. See, that's what would have happened if Rip Taylor was the murderer. Instead of running on the beach, it would have been like, "Hey, Columbo, come with me while I throw some confetti around." Sorry, I'm diva. So
he doesn't eat. Well, by the way, he doesn't eat the swallows the pills.
Okay, yeah, you could.
He's going to save these for. He goes, Columbo, you didn't take your pills, and Columbo's like, "Oh, thank you, sir. I'm going to save these for lunch." He's
I'll
so
say
polite.
these for lunch.
He doesn't want to. Yeah.
Even though this guy's murdered a man horribly, he's still very polite. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, he's also very suspicious. Like, he even asks, "Are you going to take these same pills?" Because I think he's like concerned that he's going to get poisoned.
So then we. Go ahead.
And this is also another clue happens immediately after that scene. Janis is walking Columbo out. The phone rings, and so he goes take the call in another room or something like that. It's Buddy, but Columbo notices the light for one of the extensions. It does not. The phone has those old push button lights that you could do. You could transfer lines, and it would light up when it was a line was being used or when it was ringing. He noticed that one of the lines was not, even though he was on that line taking a call.
Yeah.
Important clue.
So then we get to the Tricon scene. A scene that is puffing if there ever was puffing. They didn't even invent the term puffing as it relates to a TV episode until this scene came along. But it's still kind of funny. And so, I don't know, I have a theory that when they recast Mark Ruffalo in my imaginary, fairy tale land, when they recast him, they're going to redo this episode, and Allison Janney is going to play the lady behind the counter. You have no idea who that is, do you?
I don't know who that is, no. Who is that?
She just won an Academy Award. She was in The West Wing, maybe you've seen her. She's in a lot of stuff. She's a character actress, mostly. But she's just reminded me of this woman completely. And
it's a very funny scene.
Yeah, I actually looked up the actress. Her name is, I believe, Susan Jacoby. I think it was Susan. I couldn't find her anywhere. There's a famous author with the same name, not the same person though. But her expressions and his expressions, and it was perfect. That scene was really good.
And it goes nowhere because we could have gotten Lacey's address anywhere, and it would have been the correct address. But this address takes him to his old office. I mean, this was totally fluff, like you said. So he goes to the Tricon company headquarters, and she's getting annoyed with him because I guess he's looking. He doesn't have the correct spelling. He doesn't know the department, and obviously, so she's trying to get that, and she types it in or she inputs it in. So now Columbo's got to wait for this typewriter. It's not a printer. It's a typewriter.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think of that. You're right. That's interesting.
And so it's a lot of labored stares and staring. And he keeps annoying this poor girl. And she plays it so well. She's so annoyed. It's kind of like, I often feel like the people who work in today that work in IT must get really annoyed with people who don't understand computers, especially when they go, "Have you done this? Have you reset the computer?" No, then you need to reset the computer, and that usually fixes it. But that kind of that edginess and just kind of irritation, and that's exactly what she's dealing with. She's dealing with Columbo, who's just he's not he wants immediate help, and he's not willing to wait for the stupid slow system to
says,
do it. And by the way, the information that's coming out of that printer we get to see, it's like everything he needs to know.
Yes.
Like it's his home address, his phone number, date of birth, like everything. Which I'm surprised they gave out that kind of information.
That's true. Maybe that's a 70s thing. I don't know. And she gives him the piece of paper, and he's like, well, what about his address? And she's like, it's there on the paper. And at one point he says to her while this thing's spring out, couldn't you just call somebody? And she says, no, that would just make it too complicated. So then he takes the paper over to the payphone and calls this poor Louis Lacey guy. And, I feel bad for Louis Lacey because he's like, and he's got this real monotone voice. He leaves a voicemail. This is Lieutenant Columbo. You can reach me at the main precinct. The number for there is, you can look that up.
You can look it up. And of course, everybody's listening. Well, at least that woman behind the counter is listening. The security guard's listening. He's got an audience.
And then he walks off, kind of in a huff. He's not letting it show, but he's kind of pissed. Leaves the paper by the phone, by the way, and grabs his cigar from the ashtray right before he leaves, which is a really...
Yeah, because the security guard wouldn't let him smoke it. He says, well, I'm not going to light it. Can I carry it? He goes, no, sir, you got to put it there. Yeah, he just didn't like that.
I would have put it in his pocket.
But I want to say...
Pocket.
Well, my initial impression of Louis Lacey was he's a complete jerk.
Okay.
Because of his voicemail. Because I hate it. I mean, I really hate it when people do the voicemail like he does, where they go, hi, this is Louis.
Oh.
I'm not here right now. It's like, because you start like, oh, hi, Louis, it's Steve. I need to call you. That pisses me off so much.
You know what my voicemail says at work? It says, hi, you've reached the voicemail, Sean Homreg. This voicemail is not being monitored. Please email me at blah, 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 blah. And no goodbye or anything, because I fucking hate voicemail. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I think email is enough. We have email. Contact me via email.
And it's nice to have it like not a hard copy, but especially in your profession.
Well, that's part of the problem. A lot of attorneys don't like to contact you in writing, especially if they're older, because they don't want it turning around and having it bite them in the ass, which is the reason why they record their phone calls at the Milo Janis spot, I guess.
But yeah, so
could you imagine your first day on the job? By the way, we're going to have you record all the telephone calls. All you need to do is open this giant drawer, push 3 buttons, and then continue with the phone conversation. When the conversation is concluded, you have to log it in a book, turn the machine... Yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah, that's a job in itself. But if Jen would have had the Tricon Delta 214, because it's a total spectrum retrieval system, I mean, that it would have been taken care of.
I'll tell you, though, it's no Robbie the Robot playing war games, though. It's not that. It's...
Oh, my gosh.
We haven't gotten to that. I kind of can't wait till we get to that.
And that not only does that have Robbie the Robot, it has dog in it. I mean, does the robot walk dog? I don't think so, but that would have been
It has a young child prodigy scientist named Steven Spielberg. Oh, gosh. You know what? I'm going to watch that. I'm probably going to enjoy it much more than I remember, but... Okay.
Well, and oh, by the way, the voicemail that's on Lewis's recording gives Columbo an idea that he thought he was talking to somebody that wasn't really there. Boom, gives him the idea that the recording can fool somebody to think that someone is on the line when actually they weren't.
Right. And I can't remember if the next scene is when he goes to visit Jessica in her office and she explains the whole process of recording the telephone conversations. But there's a great clue in this. And yeah, I really like this clue. He says, so she's explaining to him when she was at Janice's house and the phone rang and she picked it up and answered. And he said, Jessica, hi, Jessica, this is Gene. Is Milo there? And Columbo asks her, so do you go to his house a lot? And she's like, well, no, that was actually the first time I was there, which I was surprised to hear that. But He says, well, why wasn't... He implied... It's done in a really well way. He basically points out that if Gene was calling Milo's house, why wouldn't he say anything in surprise at the fact that Jessica is answering the phone? And just be like, "Hi, Jessica, this is Gene. Is Milo there?" That's a really good clue. And I like that clue because it's something that is right there in front of you in your face when it happens, but it's so subtle. And you know, when it's pointed out to you, you just do this, you know, hand slap to the face type thing. That's a good clue because I love good clues. They're good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I think at this point you even see Jess starts to second guess Milo. At this point, yeah. So, but yeah. So we also hear that. Do
you ever notice that the name Janis, of course, does not suit him because it's too feminine? Milo does not suit him because it sounds like a nerd name. But Milo Janis together it works. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Well, anyway, so Ruth is who calls when Columbo's there, and she's pissed. I guess she's read. I think we completely skipped it. So Lewis comes over and meets Ruth to give him.
Well, she's
his
playing
notes.
the piano and having some wine.
Yeah, because what we find out, Gene.
I said, well, she's.
Yeah, Gene has hired Lewis to go over whatever, try to figure out how Janice is,
conning the system. But yeah, so he gives his notes to Ruth, and I guess she reads the notes.
Plants a seed in her head, and what she calls in about and what she tells Jessica on the phone, Jessica's like, well, he's at our Chatsworth spa. Who said he could do that? Why does he have that right? Man. And then Columbo's got this great line, and he goes, she reminds me of my sister-in-law. Does she always sound like that? Kind of smashed? It's like, Columbo, you were at her house while she was day drinking. I think you know...
She is probably smashed.
And then I did not realize this earlier when I saw this, but watching it for this, I never paid attention to the scene where Milo Janis and Ruth are at dinner together. And he realizes that she may be onto him. So they're talking. The waiter comes and pours some wine. And he says, "You want some wine? It's quite delicious." And as she's downing her scotch and rocks, she goes, "No, I want to keep a clear head." It may have been iced tea, but I don't. Where do they serve iced tea in a rock glass?
It looked like a cocktail to me. Yeah, it was in a cocktail glass.
And so they.
And then of course, she's starting to threaten Janice, and then he, I guess, wants to get her to relax and. Let's go back.
Oh man, I never even paid attention to that before. I'm like, oh, you fucking piece of shit. You did not. Like, again, he thinks he's God's gift to women. He can fuck his way out of this, whatever he wants, and he gets closer. Why don't we can go back to my place? And she fucking quite rightfully loses it and splashes wine in his face. And the shot that they do is.
Yeah, no, it's good. But I like the line that he gives her because she says, "What are you doing with all this money? You're forcing us to buy certain products from your other companies."
They have to main.
And this was a line he said to Gene at the beginning was that he says like, "For every dollar I make, I reinvest it in the company, and when I make money, you make money." It sounds like that's such a slimy car dealer.
Yeah, I know. You have to maintain quality.
Yeah. It's literally a script he's read.
Yeah.
Not the actor, but the character. This is something that he's memorized to tell whenever his franchisees gets upset, And she says the same thing that Gene says. That's not going to work on me.
And what's so funny is after she splashes him with wine and walks out, he's sitting there literally, dabbing himself off with a napkin. And the waitress comes over and looks at him.
And what did he say? He said, like, what are you looking at? Or can I help you?
I can do for you? I just still love the fact that the waitress comes over and we don't see her face. We just see a back shot of her. She comes over, walks over, kind of tilts her head to look at him. Is there something I can do for you? Or I can't remember exactly what he says, but yeah. And shortly, then we find out that Columbo was taking on a health regimen. Because cut back to the creepy health spa, and we see.
Well, that's an act, right? I firmly believe he's not really decided to get healthy.
Yeah, and that's the scene where he points out to Janis, whoever killed him had to had to be strong enough to lift that amount of weight, and you're the only one here strong enough, implying that. And
did you think it was weird when we see Columbo? He's on the exercise, the treadmill, and he's got a bungee cord attached around his waist. I guess because now there's I think you can pull it card out and the machine will stop.
Yeah, like if you fall.
So I guess that's
I guess that was the 1974 version of that. But the treadmill itself didn't even look like it was electric. It looked like it was more like a hamster wheel thing where you just run and the tread just goes automatically. I don't know.
Well, and I like it. Like Columbo's like, I'm skipping beer. I'm giving up the cigars and no more chili.
Chili's actually kind of a healthy food in moderation. I don't know about that chili there.
Yeah, it makes you poo.
Just don't bring out any of the Adrian Carcini wine with it, like a Texan would. Do you remember that line from that episode? No, it's okay.
No,
it's in the very beginning when they're pouring wine, and he says something like, "Oh, I'm keeping it for myself. I don't want to sell it to some Texan who will bring it out with the homemade chili," and then they all laugh.
Oh yes. Yeah, Columbo goes finally into Janis's office and says, I don't know what's going on, but Ruth went to another department, and she spoke about Bunko, or I was like, what's the hell is
so
that?
Bunko is actually a dice game. Okay, it's a lot of fun. You can play it at parties with a lot of people. Kind of for old ladies nowadays, but back in the 1920s when gambling is still illegal, in speakeasies they would play it a lot. It's a gambling game. Well, eventually, the division of the police that handle things like illegal gambling or any kind of financial rip-off scheme, they were called the Bunko Squad. Not officially, but kind of unofficially. Does that make sense? I had to look that up because I didn't know. Yes. All I knew was that Bunko was a dice game, but that's actually where the name came from.
Well, if you're looking up slang, there's another slang in this episode that happened earlier that I wasn't real familiar with, and maybe you can describe or tell me what it means. So at the beginning, where when they find Jean's body, and Columbo approaches the coroner and asks, what was the cause of death, and what did he say? He said something. I wrote my notes here. He says it was the windpipe, but he says, or maybe because Jean was eating Chinese food. He says, well, maybe the local tong.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Columbo's like,
or maybe the local tong did him in. I'm like, what is that? Is that a racist comment?
Kind of, yeah. Not exactly racist, but slightly. So yeah, he's implying that maybe he was poisoned by the Chinese food. The tong is, I don't even know if they exist anymore, but they're basically the Chinese mafia.
So the very next scene is Columbo going to the hospital because Ruth has suffered from alcohol poisoning.
Well,
and an assortment of drugs, I'm sure, pills and.
And she does a really good I'm dying in the hospital type. Lieutenant, my hair. Oh, I'm dying.
I want to know where their kid is.
He's grown up
at this point.
He's in.
Well, no, the kid is. No, they sent the kid to school.
Oh, that's true. The kid.
But the dad's dead. Mom's on her deathbed. Where's the kid?
You're right. What a lousy piece of shit kid. It's a horrible child. Huh. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
This scene is classic. This scene is classic, by the way.
I love the scene. This
scene. There's only 2 scenes like this in all of Columbo, and they're classic. And of course, they're under.
Is the other one with Leonard Nimoy?
Yes. When Columbo loses his temper at the murderer, and boy, does he just go off on him in front of 3 or 4 innocent bystanders too.
Yeah. Oh, I love how the innocent bystanders are just mesmerized by the conversation. I know you killed him. I mean, if you were sitting in a waiting room and you heard somebody make those remarks, wouldn't you be like, I'm putting down the magazine. I'm watching this.
Yeah. Is Ashton Kutcher around?
I'm putting down people. I'm putting down my copy of People magazine. And I'm gonna see what happens.
Yeah. He just lets him have it. Like everything about being, and it was all pent up. You tight-assed, rich, thinks you know everything, thinks you're God's gift to woman, piece of wealthy shit. I'm just gonna bitch slap you.
Well, and I'm wondering if Columbo would have lost his temper because previously when he was talking to Janis actually gets tired of Columbo's questions and kind of leading. He feels like he's under suspicion, which he is, but he feels like Columbo's playing him, and so he gets mad. He says, "The next time you want to talk to me, Columbo, you talk to my lawyer, and you better know what you're asking, or you're going to be in big trouble." So I think Columbo knows he can no longer pester this person.
Yeah, it's all going to be brass tacks now. There's no like subterfuge between them. It's like you're the killer and I'm going after you, and there's no more lying. There's no more cat and mouse. There's no more games. And we're near the end of the episode. There's only one more scene between them, and that's the final scene. But you want to talk about that?
I like it when he asked the lady for the magazine. She gives him the magazine, and he's wanting to light up a cigar, which I'm surprised he can do that in a hospital of all places. But he asked the guy, "You got a match?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, here."
Please,
like, he's like,
take the match.
I'm messing with you, buddy. Here's your match.
Take the match, please.
And then we get our second reference to shoelaces.
Oh yes, the creepy strange man in overcoat getting too into your personal space scene. There's a mom tying a little boy's shoelaces, and she's like, "Hold still, Johnny." Columbo sees this and goes up and looks down at them, and he's totally invading their personal space. Although mom doesn't even notice it, because you got to get them all in the frame of the camera. So.
It's not like he stinks a cigar or anything.
Yeah. Is the next scene the next scene is the last scene.
Yes. Because he's got his paper bag with him.
There's something funny that comes out of that. But Milo Janis shows up at work, and there's a phone call for him, and it's Gene Stafford's voice. Milo, blah, blah, blah. So he storms out of the office. Of course, it was Lieutenant Columbo sitting at Jessica's desk. He's like, "That's how you did it. I found the tape where you took out the splice, yada, yada, yada." And this is where the gotcha clue comes in.
Yeah. Oh, but there is one line that is beautiful, and it's delivered beautifully. It's where Janis says, because he sees Columbo sitting at Jen's desk messing with the tape recorder, and it says, "Who gives you the right, Columbo?" And then he says something like, Sir, this is a warrant. This gives me the right."
For the first time ever, I have a fucking warrant. Since you're going to be an asshole, I had to go to a judge and get this. You're an asshole. Here. So the shoes. Now, okay, so he's got the brown paper bag with him. And there's this long explanation of how when you tie your shoes, when you're tying your own shoes, the first loop goes over the big toe if you're right-handed. But if you were to tie somebody else's shoes, the big loop, the first loop goes over the little toe. And he does this by using his own shoelaces, as well as he pulls out an old sneaker from a paper bag. But what I really love about him pulling the old sneaker from the paper bag is he goes in there, he pulls out like a sandwich. He goes, "Oh, this is my lunch. That don't mean nothing." Yeah, I love that. He goes, "And this is my old sneaker."
And when he keeps his lunch with stinky sneakers. God.
Well, this is a man who has no problems with eating a hard-boiled egg after he's touched a dirty, trash can. So
right.
It turns out, and I swear to God, I remember the first time I saw this, I was watching it with my mom, and I was in high school, I think. And my mom didn't understand the ending, and we actually pulled out shoes and actually did the shoelaces ourselves. And she said what he said. He says, well, so somebody dressed him. Somebody killed him and dressed him up in gym clothes. How does that make him the murderer? It makes him the murderer because he's the one that said that Gene Stafford was in his gym clothes. I had to totally explain that for my mom over and over again. But anyway, yeah, so that's the gotcha clue. And the last thing he says is, you try to establish a perfect alibi, and it's your perfect alibi that's going to hang you. And roll credits.
Yeah.
Now, I want...
Yeah. And not only that, the credits, it's not normal rollout music, it's the Janis jingle that we get to hear. And I wish somebody would have written that out, like with the jingle, what the vocals were, because I would love to read them.
Perhaps look at the Columbo.
To get in shape, go to...
Well, we have our Columbo con. We can have a sing-along. It'll be this old man and
it kind of it kind of had that Mediterranean like beat to it. It was really kind of. I
think
nice.
If you kill somebody and you go to hell, you have to listen to that forever. Okay, so that's it. I don't remember who went last. We can't remember who went last because as I edit these, I realize that we're often wrong. But who wants to rate it? Oh, what are we going to rate out of?
I think it's my turn.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. What are we going to rate it out of?
So, I'm as usual, I'm going to pull a number out randomly out of the episode. A lot of numbers in this one.
I'm going to see if I can try to guess where you got the number from.
I'm going to... Oh, okay. What do you think the number is going to be? Why
because 8? Ruth lived in apartment 8C.
I did not notice that. Wow.
No, it's going to be...
I did think about the phone number... because we did see Lewis's phone number. I did think about that. But alas, that was just too long. I wanted to keep it simple. So 1 out of Janis's actual age, 53.
All right, you're first.
So, yeah, I'll go first here. So out of 53, I'm going to give this one a 27. It's not a bad episode per se. It's just an average episode. I did see this one before. This is my second viewing for this review. I don't know. It seemed like it wasn't very interesting to me. There were some really great scenes, especially the ones that we discussed where Columbo gets upset with Janis in the waiting room. That is beautiful. That's a wonderfully acted scene. For some reason, the idea of the shoelaces as a clue didn't really didn't resonate with me.
Did you pull out a pair? Did you pull out a pair of shoes and try it to see it for yourself? I did.
No,
it's true. It really does work.
Yeah. But it just didn't. I don't know. I mean, it was like it was built up, like the shocking twist almost, and it didn't. It wasn't very shocking, and it wasn't very exciting. But so it was an average episode. It wasn't bad. It was average. So I give it a 27.
All right. I actually kind of agree with some of the things that you're saying. I'm going to rate it higher though. I'm going to rate it about 37, which is about 3 out of 4, a little less than 3 out of 4 stars. This is pretty average. And it's also too long. This episode is too fucking long. Case in point, the scene between Columbo and Milo Janis, between the time that they are on the beach, the whole conversation until he leaves him and says, "I'll take these for lunch." There's not a lot of substance in that conversation at all. There's not a lot that goes on. There's not a lot of cat and mouse either. We're kind of just sort of told that Milo Janis is an asshole, but he's no Dale Kingston. Okay. He is supposed to come off as extremely sure of himself, and he does, but I think as a character, he's kind of dull, and that doesn't make it fun. I say that this is padded and too long, but what the ironic thing is some of the scenes that were obviously padded are the fun scenes, like the part with it when he's at Tricon.
Oh yeah,
waiting for the HR lady to,
or talking to his wife on the phone. Those were great scenes.
But
it's almost like they knew they needed something to kind of halfway through, kind of rejuvenate the episode, and they put the Tricon thing in, even though it wasn't necessary.
The scene between Louis Lacey and Ruth when he comes to visit her in her apartment, that didn't need to be there. The scene with Milo and Ruth at dinner, that didn't need to be there either. Of course, that leads up to the scene in the hospital when he yells at him. But, I mean, that's a lot leading up to just, a 10-second scene. This didn't really blow me away. It was just sort of there. I think I may have enjoyed it a little bit more than you. It could have been better. Yeah. And I think one of those ways that it could have been better is if it was shorter. If it was one of the hour-half episodes instead of 2-hour episodes.
Was this 2 hour? Yeah, I really don't watch the time on these things.
This is one of the 2-hour ones. When it was aired, it was 2 hours with commercials, obviously.
Right. So I'm curious. It seems like Robert Conrad would be a great villain in other Columbo episodes. Did the actor ever come back to do other episodes?
No, he never did. This was his only episode.
This is the one
I think. Huh. I actually agree with you. Like, I feel like the potential for him to be a great villain is there, because this guy is such a fucking asshole. But it just seemed, the performance seemed like more like paint by numbers. Like, okay, this is a scene where I act like this.
Yes,
is a scene where I act...
that's a great analogy. Actually, that is exactly how I feel. This one, yeah.
There, yeah, you take it. You know what? It's better than the one with Robbie the Robot, but it's not as good as Suitable for Framing, which I think I think we both agree. I think Suitable for Framing may be the best one that we've seen together. Like the best one that we can agree on. I don't know about that caution. Murder can be hazardous to your health. I don't know what you were drinking when you saw that, but this is just. It's kind of like yeah. And it's interesting. It's also season 4. Like maybe the pattern was getting a little bit too repetitive, and they were getting a little bit too comfortable with it, which is interesting because there's a lot of good stuff that comes out in the later seasons, like Make Me a Perfect Murder and Try and Catch Me and Fade into Murder. Those are all good episodes, but this is just it's a orgasm, not a real orgasm. It's like, an orgasm, like, never mind. It's not like.
Well, and it's unfortunate. Like, I really feel like Robert Conrad would have been a great recurring actor, kind of like Robert Culp. I could. They seem almost on the same level, and they have that. They're great actors. Conrad's a great actor. I'm surprised that he never did.
By the way, I think Robert Culp would have been great in this role.
Oh yeah.
He just needed the body.
Yes.
He would have done everything that Robert Conrad did not.
Yeah. And by the way, Robert Conrad, I don't swing that way, but man, he was an attractive guy back then.
I don't know if he still is. He's one of the few. He may be the only male murderer from the 70s that's still alive. I'd have to look that up. No. Wow. He's not, because the guy from The Conspirators, whose name is eludes me at the moment, the Irish guy. Well, he's not Irish in real life, but he's English. He's still alive. But yeah. Yeah,
Are you talking about Patrick?
No. He's dead. The guy that was in this. Remember the Irish guy, The Conspirators, the Irish one? We did it way back.
Yeah. Oh, I can't think of who that was. Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about though. Okay, great. Well, we're on the same page on that one.
I really wanted.
So, do we have any?
And
feedback?
I wanted to like it. Like I'm disappointed that I. No. Okay. We do have feedback.
Okay. Good.
We actually, it's more of a correction and less of a feedback, but at least it's not a criticism. Fuck, if it was a criticism, I still would have. All right, this is from Gen Z, who I believe emailed us before. She's emailing us about Honor Blackman, which, by the way, this is just from a couple hours ago that she emailed this. She says, I have to, actually, you guys. Actually, she's, actually what I said, just for the record. She says, Diana Rigg was Emma Peel. Diana Rigg, sorry, I said that wrong. Diana Rigg was Emma Peel. Honor Blackman was John Steed's previous partner, name of Kathy Gale. Pushes nerd glasses up on nose. Signed, Gen Z. She's quite right. Kathy Gale was Honor Blackman. I haven't seen that in so long. I didn't remember. But I think I like Emma Peel more. That's probably why. So, Diana Rigg, of course, is still with us. She was on Game of Thrones. Time has come to talk of many things, of dentists and undertakers and guillotines. So, spin the Wigan wheel of the 90s, Steve.
All right, let's do it.
And for the record, there are only 11 of them left.
Okay. Well, we've been lucky so far. I've really enjoyed the last few. So you're telling me that's unusual. That most of these are.
Oh, we've got a lot of shit left here. Stuff that I'd rather really not watch ever again. But we're going to have to go through it and can be completists. Okay, so we are going to watch Columbo Likes the Nightlife from 2000. Columbo Likes the Nightlife from 2003, the very last Columbo episode ever. Yeah.
Really? Now, does it have that song that I like the nightlife, I like to boogie?
I don't
in this episode?
remember.
Because I'll give it an extra 10 points on whatever the score is, just for that.
Well,
I don't even know what the name of that song is.
Unfortunately,
I guess I like the nightlife.
I cannot tell you who the murderer is in this because I don't remember his name. It's Reese somebody, but I honestly can't remember. So that's what it's going to be. Columbo Likes the Nightlife. Man, there's some shit left here. I'm looking at the ones that are left. I'm not going to say what they are, but for some reason our Wigan Wheel of the 90s really left the worst for last. Oh, there's one here that yeah, anyway. Okay. So
we're more than likely everybody's still alive except for Peter Falk. You know what? We forgot news.
Peter Falk's still dead. Oh, yes. You know what? We'll do there is news. There is news.
There is news. I know. I sent it to you.
You did?
And it's not Peter Falk still dead, like you just said.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's more. There's more news. Okay, so they are.
More news.
Do we have a date for that thing that you sent me? By the way.
I think it's July.
Okay, so sometime in July they are re-releasing all of Columbo on DVD. So right now, I think that you can buy all of Columbo from 1968 through 2003 on DVD at the low price of $43. Okay, well, not for long because it's going to go away for a while. It's going to come back, and you're going to be able to buy the whole set again in a very nicely packaged edition for much more money. They're re-releasing.
Yes, for like $100.
No word yet on any extras. If there were lots of extras,
No. According to that article, it's the same discs.
Oh, okay.
It's just a repackaging. So you're paying $40, $45 more just for the new packaging.
Yeah, so like the 70s ones won't be white, and the 90s ones are black. They'll be integrated. Maybe that's the wrong word. But okay, yeah. But so the Mrs. Columbo episodes will be on there probably. I'm assuming. Yeah, we should.
Wonder. I mean, it's not like they can release Mrs. Columbo episodes on their own and make any.
They did in like France or something. I found a Region 2 release of Mrs. Columbo. I think it was called like Madame Columbo or something like that. Oh, we should watch one of those sometimes because the things that I've heard, that one with the puppet sounds absolutely hilarious.
Yes, is that on the current box
It's
set,
on one of them. I don't know. Don't ask me which one, but it was one that we watched recently because it popped up. So also, for those of you who are interested in, you don't have Columbo on DVD, because it's no longer Netflix. There is a Columbo channel on YouTube, simply called Columbo, appropriate enough. And Steve, you brought this up before, that they have different things like lists and all that. But now, ladies and gentlemen, they have full episodes of Columbo that you can watch on YouTube. Full episodes that are of decent quality, that don't look like somebody just, put their phone up to the television.
Man, Universal's going to shut that down.
I know, it's sooner. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. But I think there might be like 5 or 6 episodes available. They're all in the first season, like Suitable for Framing, maybe Death Lends a Hand, Murder by the Book. So yeah, I get the impression that shit's going to be shut down pretty quick. So, in fact, maybe Universal listens to this podcast, so maybe we shouldn't have said anything.
I doubt it. They probably don't even know what a podcast is. But
all right.
Speaking from an ex-employee of that particular company. But anyways,
yes, I look forward to it. So, Columbo likes the nightlife.
So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, whenever someone asks you to work late and work out, I don't know what. Good night. Say good night, Steve.
Good night.
Everybody start today, shed pounds away to salvage your commonwealth. The only thing you have to gain is your health.
Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @columboconfab, and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.